So this video is going to talk about what I experienced in terms of the paranormal. I never believed in the paranormal before this experience, but I'm going to start with an introduction as to my spiritual journey. So if you want to just skip all that background and you want to go straight to my paranormal story, then go ahead and fast forward to this time right here in the video, okay? So I was raised Catholic. I went to Catholic school from kindergarten to 12th grade, and then I went to Lutheran school. And when I was younger and I was raised Catholic, I was very strong in my Catholic faith. And that lasted up until about I was 12 years old. When I was 12, my grandfather died, and he was really the basis for my faith. And when he died, I gradually lost my faith. I went from being Catholic to exploring Judaism, then being agnostic, and then being an atheist. And throughout high school, really up until I was 20 years old, I was a strong atheist. So a strong atheist is someone who, you have like a weak atheist and a strong atheist. A strong atheist doesn't believe that God exists. And even if God did exist, a strong atheist would choose not to worship God. So, that's one step away from being a Satanist, being into the occult. Now, when I was 20 years old, I dropped acid, LSD, for the first time. And when I did that, it really changed my perspective on a lot of things in my life. And I realized that God did exist, but even then, I had very nuanced, like hippy-dippy beliefs on God. I thought God was everything. I thought God, all gods were, one God, and all gods were correct as long as you believe in something. And it wasn't until 2016 that I really rediscovered that God is Jesus. God is the Holy Trinity. And how I discovered that was I worked security for a company in Arizona, and I worked at a lot of different sites there. And one of the sites that I worked at was a homeless shelter. It's called Vista Colina, and it's in Phoenix, north side of Phoenix. It's in a very bad neighborhood. I worked there, and when I was getting trained there, to give you an idea, the homeless shelter, it's only for families, and it consists of 5 buildings there, and each family gets to stay in one of the units in the buildings. It used to be an apartment complex at one point. And our office was the very first unit going into the complex. And so each unit was 2 stories. You had on the first floor, it'd be like a living room area and a kitchen, and then you go upstairs and you had 2 bedrooms and a bathroom. And that's how all the units were, to my memory. That's how our unit was, which was our office. Now, in terms of how that was set up, they only had security there at night from 8 p.m. to 6 a.m. And after 10 p.m., I would be the only staff member there. Now, during the day, the 2 bedrooms upstairs, they're used as offices. The director had an office there, and then they had another office that was for like interviewing new families and everything. And then downstairs, they had like a fridge with bottled water. They had the camera system there. So I could see from that office. I'd be down there at night on that first floor, and our windows were bulletproof in that office. Everything in terms of getting onto that property was access controlled, so no one left that property, no one entered that property without me knowing. And in terms of them entering, I would have to actually buzz them in, whether they were pedestrian walking through the gate or driving their car in. I had to give them permission to come in. And we had curfews, And I've worked at a lot of homeless shelters. I worked at the largest homeless shelter in the state of Arizona. And I have a lot of experience in that regard. This was a pretty easy homeless shelter to work at. The families, they had kids and stuff. They're not the ones to, cause problems. Like, when you work at a homeless shelter that's for single men. So they followed the rules. There was a curfew, and the only times people would leave or enter the property would be if they had work exceptions, and those are pretty rare. Now, when I started there, I was getting trained that night, and I was being trained by the other security guard, and it was really just him and I that worked there. There was some other person, they just only have 2 people working there a week, and he had the majority of the hours. When he was showing me around, he was training me when he was showing me the facility, towards the end of him taking me around everywhere and telling me everything, he asked me, he said, "Do you believe in ghosts?" I told him, "No, not really." And, without missing a beat, he just told me straight up, he said, "Well, whether you believe in ghosts or not, you're going to experience some really, really weird things here." And I just kind of brushed it aside. I didn't dismiss him, but I was like, "Oh, okay." And, in my mind, I was dismissing. I was like, yeah, right. And, I worked at that homeless shelter for a good amount of time. I'm not entirely sure how long I was there. It was, I'd say, over 6 months, probably. And, it was probably about a month or so into working there. Maybe like 2 months or something. It took a little while before I really noticed anything weird. And all these incidents, they would happen like right around midnight. The first thing that happened was I was sitting there on the first floor watching the cameras, and that's like in the kitchen area, but they didn't really have a point to use the kitchen. We had some plates and stuff, or the food we bring in and we wash that, but there's a kitchen right behind me. The stairwell's right behind me too, and there's a closet underneath that stairwell. And there's cameras that I would, right in front of me that I'd be looking at all night. And the first thing that happened was one night, again, right around midnight, I'm there watching the cameras, and all of a sudden, upstairs in the same unit, the office that I'm working in upstairs, it sounded as though someone was directly above me, and they were just jumping up and down, like deliberately, as hard as they could. And it was very loud, and it was so forceful that it was literally moving the ceiling fan. It was making it sway back and forth. And I went on high alert. I went upstairs. I cleared every single little area upstairs. I cleared every room. I cleared the bathroom. I cleared every closet, every little hiding spot, anywhere that anyone could be upstairs. I cleared every one of those areas. There was no one up there. That was really weird, but I still didn't really think anything of it because I didn't believe in the paranormal. One night I heard someone walking down the stairs, and usually when I was in the office there, I'd have all the lights off, and so I just have the glow of the monitors. And I did that because this place was in a very bad neighborhood. It was an easy job, but we had someone shot and killed directly outside of our property. A house was burned down directly outside of our property. Watching the cameras at night, you would see people tweaking out on meth, and they would be walking down the street with machetes. It's Sunny Slope. That's the name of the neighborhood in Phoenix. And I actually lived there. I lived really close to that homeless shelter. It only took me like 3 minutes, if that, to walk out of my door and to get into the office. I lived very close. I lived in that neighborhood, Sunny Slope. Very, very bad neighborhood in Phoenix. I would be in that office with just the light from the monitors, the camera monitors, because even though we had bulletproof windows and everything, I didn't really like the idea of having the lights on and having people outside the complex being able to see what I was doing. So I didn't, I had the lights off for security reasons. And one night I heard someone walking down the stairs, and I looked over, and the stairs are in the corner there, kind of opposite from where I'm at, the end of the stairs. And I didn't see anything, but like I could really feel that like someone was there, like peeking around the corner of those stairs looking at me. And it really, like, even just talking about now, I just got chills up and down my body from that. And I don't know why, but I got the feeling that it was like a child, like a little girl. And so I went over, I turned on all the lights, I looked up the stairs. I mean, there's nothing there. And I just kind of ignored it, went back. These last two things, I'm not sure which one preceded which, but there was one time I got there, and it was probably about 8:30. So the other staff members were there. There's like one, maybe two staff members there, not security. And they asked if I would stock the refrigerator up with water, bottled water. So the counter was opposite of the refrigerator, and I had these cases of bottled water there, and I'm, ripping the plastic apart, putting bottles of water in the refrigerator. And while I'm doing that, something felt just like a human hand or something. It grabbed my elbow, and it grabbed my elbow hard. It squeezed it very tight. There was no one there, and they would have grabbed it. There was nothing that my elbow brushed up against. It didn't even feel like it was brushing up against something. It felt like something was grabbing my elbow and squeezing it hard. And the staff member, she was probably about 10, 15 feet away from me. And I told her right away, like, holy shit, something just grabbed my elbow really hard. And she was concerned, but she also kind of laughed it off, because literally everyone that worked there, they had similar experiences. Everyone that worked there. So she was like, oh yeah, you're dealing with the Vista Clina ghost. That really, it was at that point I realized, like, okay, something's going on here. Because I've heard other stories about people like, oh, this ghost or whatever grabbed me. And I thought, you can't even, unless it happens to you, you can't even, like, mentalize that. You can't even imagine what it is like to have something physically grab and touch you that does not exist. You cannot fathom that. But the weirdest thing that happened to me that really convinced me beyond a shadow of a doubt that this paranormal stuff's real was one night. It was exactly at midnight. One night there was I'm looking at the cameras, sitting in the chair, watching the cameras, and behind me, about 3, maybe 4 feet behind me, is the door to the closet underneath the stairs. Kind of like, like Harry Potter, he lived in that little fucking closet underneath the stairs. That's what this was, and we had like brooms and some cleaning supplies and shit in there. And that's the only way to get in or out of there, is that door. And that door was closed. I'm sitting there watching the cameras, and 3 to 4 feet behind me, the door starts pounding extremely loud. Like it's like someone's on the other side of it, just banging on it with both their fists as hard as they can. And I turn around and I look at it, and the pounding stops, and the door's like cracked open. Not much, maybe like 6 inches, a foot. And that really, I instantly got like a fight or flight response from that. my adrenaline shot up. I mean, I've done armed and armed and unarmed security. I've done security at sites. There was this one site I worked at, government assisted housing in South Phoenix, which is also another bad neighborhood. And like there was one night I had like 2 shootings there, home invasion. I was the only guy working. I've had people pull knives on me. I've been in a lot of shitty situations working security. And more so than any other situation I had ever experienced afterwards working in security, that triggered the largest adrenaline rush because there was something right behind me on the other side of that door pounding on it, but there wasn't. And so the pounding happened loud as fuck. I turn around, the pounding stops, the door's cracked open. I jump up and I'm pissed because my fight or flight response, I don't run, I fight. But how the fuck am I going to fight something that's paranormal? I don't know how to do that. But I do know, whether you're dealing with people, animals, whatever the fuck you're dealing with, you don't show fear. Whenever you show fear, things get worse. So I didn't know what the fuck to do, but I turned around, I saw that, I jumped up, I didn't even look to see if there was anything in there, I just kicked the door closed, I yelled, I said, fuck you demon, or I said, fuck you ghost, you're not gonna fucking scare me, fuck off. And I went back to my chair, and I sat down and acted like nothing happened. I kept watching the cameras. And that was the craziest thing that's ever happened to me. And I wanted to know what the fuck was going on. So I started looking into the paranormal, looking into the occult. And I had several different Facebook accounts I used to troll. One of the Facebook accounts that I used was kind of like it was a fake account, it was more liberal. And I used that, I joined a bunch of different occult groups, and I really learned a lot about the occult. And that really opened my eyes up to a lot of stuff. And looking back on it, I realized that was not a ghost that was fucking with me. That was a demon. There was a demon in that unit at that apartment complex. It was not a ghost. And it's interesting, if you look into the occult, a lot of times demons, they want you to think that they're ghosts. They want you to let your guard down. And to do that too, they'll also try to portray themselves as children. And in my research, when I found that out, I was like, wow. Because like I said, I heard something walk down the stairs once, and I didn't see anything, but like it just felt like I could almost see like a little girl looking there. It was so weird. And I mean, I looked into that, and then, this was at the same time, this is like the run up to the 2016 national election. And this is also like the exact same time that the WikiLeaks emails got released. And every day that they would release some of those emails, I would just, be there ready to read them. And I'd just read through them. And you read those emails, and they are talking about satanic rituals. John Podesta's having spirit cookings. Maria Abramovich, or whatever, that witch. And then, I realized, I said, wow, like, all these elites, they're all Satanists. They're all into the occult. And, I did research Satanism too, and some Wiccan stuff, some pagan stuff. And what really, going through this stuff at work, I was already like, ugh. It opened me up more to, God and Jesus and the Holy Spirit. But what really convinced me that I mean, I knew God existed, but I had this hippy dippy belief in God. What convinced me that God exists, but it's the Christian God, is that when you look into the occult and Satanism and all that, these anti-religions, they are entirely opposed to Christianity. They are not opposed to Islam. They are not opposed to Buddhism. They are not opposed to Hinduism, Shintoism. They're not opposed to any of that. They are all entirely opposed to Christianity. And then you have the elites that worship Satan. It's coming out in the WikiLeaks emails that they're doing all these rituals and horrible stuff. And it made me realize that, like, yeah, I mean, like, Jesus is the truth. Jesus is God. If he wasn't, why would everything that opposes the good in the world not care about anything else? It only cares about attacking Christianity. So that's my experience. If you ever have a ghost encounter, from what I've researched, I think probably about like 90% of what people think are ghost encounters are actually demons. Now, there are instances where like they are actually ghosts, but those are very rare. It's much more likely that it's a demon. And really, like, I think when it's a ghost, because I did have one other experience. This was when I was real young. I've had my house for almost 11 years now. And when I first moved into it, there would be these times, and there were two old ladies, they were lesbians that lived here, and I don't know if they died in the house or not, but they were the people that owned the house before me. And there were multiple times where I would be in the living room and I would see a shadowy figure walk through the hallway. And I was really young, and I would always just kind of play it off as, my eyes are playing tricks on me or whatever. But then my one friend was over, and we both saw it. And I still kind of like dismissed it. And then a different friend was over, and we both saw it. Now, I have not had any experiences like that in my house for probably like 8 years. So I think that spirit is gone now. It's found peace. I pray that it has. But that, I believe, was a ghost. And because ghosts, they're benevolent. I can't say that. Benevolent. I'm not even going to try it again. But they aren't vindictive. They aren't really like in your face and trying to fuck with you. Demons are, though. And I know demons can attach to people. I pray that the demon I encountered at Vista Clina did not attach itself to me. I don't think that it did. But I think, you need to have faith if you encounter a demon, and you can't allow yourself to be scared, or you cannot express that fear. Because fear is doubt and faith. If you have faith in God, you have nothing to fear. And so if you express fear, the demon can attach itself to you. So that's my story.